Imagine two types of racing. One race repeats the same 20-kilometer road with mechanics fixing your car every few hours. The other sends you 500 kilometers into a desert you've never seen. And if your engine dies, you fix it yourself. That's the difference between the World Rally Championship and the Dakar Rally. Both involve driving fast on dirt. Both are absolutely mental. But they're about as similar as a sprint and a marathon. One is a 3-day surgical strike with the best support crews in motorsport. The other is a 2-week survival mission where you sleep in a tent and eat dust for breakfast. But here's the mad bit. Most people think rally is rally. They see cars sliding sideways on gravel and assume it's all the same thing. But the truth is, a WRC driver would get absolutely destroyed at Dakar, and a Dakar driver would struggle massively in WRC. They're completely different sports that just happen to involve dirt and speed. Point 1, the length is bonkers different. So let's start with the most obvious difference. How long these races actually are. A WRC rally lasts 3 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Done. You're home by Monday morning having a cup of tea. The Dakar Rally lasts 2 weeks. By the way, the 2026 Dakar finish was insane. One of those moments where everything flips in a heartbeat. Luciano Benavides beat Ricky Brabec by just 2 seconds, the closest finish in Dakar history, after a tiny navigation mistake, only 7 kilometers from the finish. Honestly, one of the wildest twists we've ever seen in the rally. But we'll break that down properly in a different video. But it's not just the number of days, it's the distance. A typical WRC rally covers about 300 to 350 kilometers of competitive stages spread across those 3 days. The rest of the time, you're driving on normal roads between stages. At Dakar, you're doing 500 kilometers of racing every single day. 2026 Dakar was about 7,700 kilometers total, with roughly 5,100 kilometers of competitive special stages. That's the equivalent of driving from London to Istanbul and back, through a desert, at race pace. In WRC, you drive the same stages multiple times. You'll recce the route before the rally, driving it at normal speed to write pace notes. Then during the rally, you might drive the same 20-kilometer stage twice, once in daylight, once at night. You know what's coming. At Dakar, you see the route once. That's it. No recce, no practice. You get a digital roadbook 15 minutes before the stage starts, and then you're off into the unknown. If there's a massive drop-off, hidden behind a dune, you'll find out when you're airborne. Quick pause. If this is already making Dakar feel insane compared to WRC, you're going to enjoy the rest of this channel. I break down motorsport in a way that actually makes sense, without assuming you already know everything. So, if that's your thing, hit subscribe and like the video. It really helps this reach more people who love racing, but don't want it overcomplicated. Alright, now let's talk about the cars, because this is where things get properly weird. Point 2. The cars are completely different beasts. Right, so the races are different lengths, but surely the cars are similar, right? Not even close. A WRC car and a Dakar car are built for completely opposite purposes. Let's start with WRC. The current generation is called Rally 1. These are hybrid monsters based on production cars. The Toyota GR Yaris, the Hyundai i20N, and the Ford Puma. They've got a 1.6-liter turbocharged petrol engine making about 380 horsepower, plus a 100-kilowatt electric motor that adds another 134 horsepower for short bursts. They weigh about 1,260 kilograms. They're small, nimble, and built for precision. The suspension travel is around 280 millimeters. Now let's talk Dakar. The top class is called Ultimate. Take the Toyota GR DKR Hilux that Yazid Al-Raji used to win in 2025. It's running a twin-turbo V6 petrol engine, pushing about 354 horsepower. Similar power to WRC, right? Wrong, because the Dakar car weighs about 2,000 kilograms. That's nearly double the weight of a WRC car. And the suspension, 350 millimeters of travel with massive 37-inch tires. These things are built to absorb punishment, not to be fast around corners. A WRC car is a scalpel, a Dakar car is a sledgehammer. And here's the mental bit. At Dakar, you've also got bikes, trucks, and side-by-sides all racing at the same time. Imagine doing 160 kilometers per hour across a sand dune, and suddenly a 10-ton Iveco truck flies past you. That's Dakar. In WRC, it's just cars. Everyone's in the same category, fighting for the same trophy. Point 3. The support crews are night and day. But even if the cars are different, surely the teams are similar. This is where it gets really interesting. In WRC, you've got a full support crew waiting for you at every service park. These are like Formula One level pit stops, except they last 15 to 40 minutes. Your mechanics can do almost anything. Replace major components like suspension, gearbox, and driveline parts. You pull in with a car that's barely holding together, and 40 minutes later, you drive out with what feels like a brand new machine. Service parks happen multiple times a day. You're never more than a few hours away from help. At Dakar, you get one service per day. That's it. You finish the stage, you drive to the bivouac, which is basically a temporary camp in the middle of nowhere, and your mechanics have a few hours to fix whatever's broken. But here's the brutal part. If something breaks during the stage, you're on your own. You have to fix it yourself with whatever tools and spare parts you've got in the car. And the rules are strict. You can only use parts that you're carrying with you. If you need a new suspension arm and you don't have one in the car, tough luck. You're either retiring or you're bodging it together with zip ties and hope. The 48-hour chrono stage is even worse. That's a single stage run over 2 days with 0 outside assistance allowed. You camp in the desert overnight, completely cut off from your team. If your car breaks, you fix it yourself or you're done. In WRC, if your car breaks, you've got a team of 10 mechanics ready to rebuild it. In Dakar, if your car breaks, you've got a spanner and a prayer. Point 4. Navigation is a completely different game. Alright, so the support is different, but surely the driving is similar. Not even close. And the biggest difference is navigation. In WRC, you've got a co-driver reading pace notes. These are detailed instructions that you've written yourself during recce. They tell you exactly what's coming. Left 4 over crest into right 3 tightens. 100 meters. You know every corner, every bump, every danger before you get there. The route is marked with arrows and tape. You literally cannot get lost unless you're trying to. At Dakar, navigation is everything. You've got a co-driver too, but their job is completely different. They're reading a digital roadbook, cryptic instructions, with weird symbols called tulip diagrams, and trying to find invisible GPS waypoints scattered across the desert. The roadbook might say, cap 270, distance 3.2 kilometers, junction right. Your co-driver has to interpret that, find the waypoint, and make sure you don't miss it. Because if you miss a waypoint, you get a massive time penalty. And the worst part? You often don't know you've missed it until 20 minutes later. Miss a safety waypoint and you're disqualified. And remember, you're seeing this route for the first time. No recce, no practice, just raw navigation at 160 kilometers per hour across terrain that all looks exactly the same. For bike riders, it's even more insane. They're navigating solo, reading the digital roadbook mounted on their handlebars, while riding a motorcycle at full speed through the desert. In WRC, getting lost is basically impossible. In Dakar, getting lost is normal. Even 5-time champion Nasser Al-Attiyah got lost for 50 minutes in 2025 because his co-driver skipped one line in the roadbook. Point 5. The terrain is worlds apart. But they're both racing on dirt, right? How different can the terrain really be? Massively different. WRC stages are on roads. Narrow, twisty, gravel or tarmac roads, but roads nonetheless. They're usually about 3 to 5 meters wide, lined with trees, rocks, or ditches. One mistake and you're in the scenery. The surface changes constantly. You might start on dry gravel, hit a patch of mud, then transition to tarmac, then back to gravel. It's technical, precise, and unforgiving. At Dakar, there are no roads. You're driving across open desert, rocky plateaus, dried up riverbeds called wadis, and sand dunes the size of buildings. The terrain is so varied that you might do 100 kilometers on hard-packed dirt, then suddenly hit soft sand that swallows your car like quicksand. The empty quarter in Saudi Arabia, the Rub al Khali, is the largest continuous sand desert on the planet. Some of those dunes are 300 meters tall. You're not just driving over them, you're launching off them, flying through the air, and hoping you land the right way up. In WRC, the terrain is challenging but predictable. In Dakar, the terrain is actively trying to kill you. Point 6. The championships are structured completely differently. So, if they're this different, how do the championships actually work? The WRC runs 13 rounds across the 2025 season from January to November. Each round is a 3-day rally in a different country. You get points based on where you finish, and at the end of the season, whoever has the most points wins the championship. The current WRC champion is Sébastien Ogier, who won his 9th title in 2025, driving for Toyota. Dakar is part of the FIA World Rally Raid Championship, which includes 5 rounds across 4 continents. The calendar kicks off with Dakar in Saudi Arabia in January, then moves to Abu Dhabi, Argentina, Morocco, and Spain. But here's the thing, Dakar is the big one. It's worth more points, it's longer, it's harder, and it's the race everyone wants to win. If you fail Dakar, the rest of the season barely matters. Nasser Al-Attiyah added yet another chapter to his legend in the car category, claiming his 6th Dakar victory and further cementing his place in rally raid history. In WRC, consistency matters. You need to score points at every rally to win the title. In rally raid, Dakar matters most. Win Dakar and you're halfway to the championship. Point 7. The speed is deceiving. So after all that, you might be wondering, which one is actually faster? In WRC, speed comes in short, terrifying bursts. You sit at the start line, countdown hits 0, and for the next 10 or 15 minutes, your entire world shrinks to the road in front of you. Trees blur past your window. Corners arrive faster than your brain can process. One mistake and you're in a ditch. Upside down, rally over. But then it's done. You stop, you breathe. Dakar doesn't work like that. At Dakar, the speed never gives you a break. You might be driving flat out for 5 hours straight. No stage end, no reset, no moment where your brain can switch off. You're steering, navigating, watching engine temps, reading the terrain, and scanning for danger all at the same time. And the scariest part? Nothing around you looks fast. There are no trees flashing past, no walls, just empty desert. So your brain lies to you and says, this is fine, until you hit a hidden dip at 160 kilometers per hour, until the sand suddenly turns soft and grabs the car, until a dune appears out of nowhere and launches you into the air. In WRC, speed feels sharp and violent. In Dakar, speed feels sneaky. You don't realize how fast you're going until something goes wrong, and when it does, you're hours away from help. That's why Dakar drivers talk about managing fear, not chasing speed. Because the real danger isn't how fast the car is, it's how long you have to stay focused while going fast. In WRC, you survive speed for minutes. In Dakar, you survive speed all day. And by day 10, that's when the rally really starts. So there you have it. WRC and Dakar might both involve dirt and speed, but they're completely different sports. One is a 3-day sprint with full support. The other is a 2-week survival mission where you're on your own. What do you think? Would you rather do WRC, where you're pushing the absolute limit for short bursts, or Dakar, where you're racing for 2 weeks straight through the desert? But everything I've just told you is completely useless if you don't understand how the navigation actually works at Dakar. So click on this video here where I break down exactly why even the best drivers in the world get hopelessly lost in the desert. Trust me, it's absolutely mental. See you in the next one.